What makes the movies that we love special? Or better yet, what makes the movies that we love iconic? For a lot of us, it's simple. It comes down to nostalgia or iconic characters that you just can't get away from. And in today's episode, we're gonna be talking about a scene that has both of those things, from nostalgia to iconic characters to everything in between.
You've just picked it up already!
And today we're going to be looking at the opening scene from Raiders of the Lost Ark and breaking down why it's so awesome. I'm Kier Gomes with JoBlo Originals, and you're watching Scene Breakdown. Raiders of the Lost Ark is the first installment in the Indiana Jones franchise, released in 1981 and directed by none other than Steven Spielberg. The story and character were conceived by George Lucas, and of course the film stars Harrison Ford as our hero, Indiana Smith. Smith?
I named the character after my dog, and ultimately we put that in the movie. Originally when I wrote this, it was Indiana Smith, and then when I told the story to Steven on the beach, he said, "I love it, it's fantastic, let's go with it." He said, "There's only one thing I don't like." I said, "What's that?" He said, "I don't like the name." And I said, "Well, all right. Well, what if we call him Indiana Jones?"
Really? Is that true? Jones sounds better though, no? Raiders of the Lost Ark is the story of Indiana Jones, an archaeologist in 1936 who's hired by the United States government to track down an ancient artifact and make sure that he gets to it before the Nazis do, so that they can't use its power to do all the evil stuff. Now, of course, anytime you talk about Indiana Jones, you're really also talking about Harrison Ford. However, while he was the first choice for this role, George Lucas originally did not want to be one of those directors that puts the same actor in every movie. So instead, they got people like Tim Matheson to audition, and even Tom Selleck, who was signed on for the role, but then ended up having a previous engagement to a TV show. So then George Lucas had to get over his fear of casting Harrison Ford and get him in the role. And honestly, that was a good idea. Can you really imagine Indiana Jones being played by somebody that isn't Harrison Ford? I mean, the guy still plays Indiana Jones, like right now.
Get back!
Now, there's not really a lot to say as far as context for this scene because it is basically the opening sequence of the movie, and this is the first Indiana Jones that we've ever seen. So not a whole lot to set up. You kind of go into this cold, not knowing anything. So with that being said, let's get into the scene. I am so excited. I don't know if you can tell. All right, let's get into it. Oh, man, I get so excited. I love this movie. I love this scene so much. You get like that really like cold lighting from the outside and then the warm lighting from the torch. It just looks so like good. Harry Styles would say it just looks like a movie. You know what I mean? And you got Alfred Molina. So actually, let's go. First pause of the video. How about that? This was Alfred Molina's very first movie, which is awesome. I mean, can you imagine? It's kind of like how we talked about Carrie-Anne Moss. The Matrix was one of her first big projects, the first movie she saw herself in. Can you imagine just the first movie you ever did out of the gate being one of the most important movies in cinema? I mean, come on. You can't ask for anything better. And Alfred Molina deserves it. He is awesome. Dr. Octopus, you know? Let's keep it going. Look how handsome Harrison Ford is. That cinematography is so good. And they got so much coverage. We'll probably talk more about that. Nope. 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 Oh my god. So actually, and I don't know, you guys have probably heard this story. If you're familiar with the film, this is a pretty popular tale, but so all of these spiders, you can see there is dozens of spiders on Alfred Molina's back. Those are all real tarantulas, and they're all male tarantulas too. So the story goes, they had all of these, you know, dozens of spiders all over Alfred Molina. Well, they were male spiders, and they weren't moving at all. So when they were filming it, the spiders looked fake because they just stayed frozen. They just stayed still, and they couldn't figure out how to make the spiders move. And obviously, you can't have Alfred Molina wiggling his body, and you know. So anyway, the point is, they got a female tarantula and they put it on Alfred Molina's shoulder. and all of a sudden they had one female tarantula, and these dozens of male spiders started crawling and cutting around through his body. They started going over his shoulder, under his arms. They were uncontrollable at that point. They went nuts. And I would imagine, I mean, obviously, if you had a fear of spiders, this would probably help you get over it. I think I probably would have had a heart attack. So I'm glad that I'm here talking about this scene as opposed to having to live it in real life. But now you know, share it with your friends. He doesn't really look afraid, though, huh? He looks like he's more annoyed than anything. I bet Alfred Molina is not afraid of spiders. That's a good t-shirt. Put that on a t-shirt.
Stop. Stay out of
Oh, I just love how cinematic that lighting is. Just that blue sunlight popping through the rocks in the cave. Look at that silhouette. So that's what I'm talking about. Harrison Ford, I mean, he's recognizable as Han Solo, but he's recognizable as Indiana Jones just as much. You can tell Indiana Jones just by his silhouette. You know, the hat, the shoulders, the curves of his face. It's Harrison Ford, it's Indiana Jones, and I love how recognizable that is. And they're telling you that from the first scene in this movie. They're showing you these nice, well-lit silhouettes of Harrison Ford. They're kind of establishing this icon within this scene. Oh, it's so good. I'm gonna let the scene play, I promise. Now he looks afraid. The spiders didn't get him. That'll do it. I wonder, you guys think Harrison Ford's face was kind of like stuck like this after making the movie for like weeks? I bet it was. I love those wide angle shots from down low. That's the other thing, is the coverage. Okay, so this film was mostly shot in the UK. I love the coverage that they got of this scene. You can see there's so many different angles. They have wides, they have a few like medium shots, you know, they have some good close-ups, but it looks so good because there's so much coverage. And for an opening scene, I cannot stress how important it is to have some visual diversity in terms of, you know, the shots that you cut to, the shots that you cut away from. Everything looks very dynamic but still cohesive. I'm geeking out on the filmmaking aspect of it, but I'm telling you guys, it's a work of art. Let's keep it going. Oh, it's so good. Supposedly they had 10 Indiana Jones jackets, the same jacket, 10 of them, all distressed and weathered by hand, you know, for stunt doubles or whatever. And I wonder if I bet Harrison Ford kept at least one of them, right? Or Spielberg, somebody has one of those jackets.
Hurry. There is nothing to fear here.
See what I mean by the cinematography? There's just so many good wide shots. I love it. Can you imagine how jarring it would be to see Indiana Jones all of a sudden wearing like something else, like anything else? That's what I want. I want in the new movie, I want there to be a scene where I don't know, he puts on a suit or something and people are just completely, they don't even recognize him. I would love that. The set is so beautiful too. You can tell from everything, from like the moss even, and the carvings on the rocks. Everything looks so good. Everything's so well lit. You don't really see stuff like this that much anymore. I gotta pause it right here. Like when it comes to blockbuster movies nowadays, you definitely do not see practical sets that look this good. This wasn't digital. This was all done. In fact, when they planned it out, they built miniatures of every single set piece. So they had all of these rocks, this table, everything was made out of miniatures so they could see what it would look like. And it looks so good because it's real. It's actually there, you know, and there's textures. Everything looks so good and so rich. I can't get over it. But like you could screenshot any frame in this entire sequence and it's a perfect wallpaper for like your desktop, you know? It looks so good. Like, look at that. That's like a thumbnail right there. I love it. He's got to put the bag of sand. Test it out. Again with the beautiful wide angles, man. There's just such an abundance of coverage, and that's so important. That little smile. I love it. So this is really good too. This really cuts the tension in the scene, right? Because it's a very intense situation. I mean, everywhere they look, there's spiders. It's dangerous. You know, you can tell from the music, the swelling of the music. It's very, very intense. And then they think it worked, and it just lifts right before it gets bad again. Those reaction shots are also very important when it comes to the coverage of it. Oh my gosh. Okay, so think about again, this was done practically, okay? They have so much crew, so many cameras around, actors, lighting, probably craft services just outside the door, and they're popping off shots. There's hydraulic pumps that are firing these, you know, wooden charges that go out against the wall. I would just imagine that it echoed so much, your ears would be ringing for weeks during this scene, for weeks. But it all looks so good. I love those shots. The music.
Throw me the idol. No time to argue. Throw me the idol. I throw you the whip.
It's just two brilliant actors, you know? Not knowing that they're creating one of the most iconic scenes of all time. Love it. Oh, it's so good. Harrison Ford, man, I'm so glad that he's the one that did this role. I just really can't imagine this as like Tom Selleck or Tim Matheson even. Maybe Tim Matheson, honestly. Oh, it looks so good. You guys are ready for the iconic moment within the iconic scene? We're getting to it. Again with that beautiful blue lighting. Scares the shit out of me every single time. Gotta have a little quip in there, you know. It is a Spielberg movie, you know. Still gotta have that. So that boulder, obviously, this is probably the thing. If you recognize anything from this movie, it's probably that. This boulder was made out of wood and carbon fiber and like cotton, but it was really, really heavy. So it wasn't a real boulder, obviously. But it was extremely heavy, very dangerous. This definitely could have injured or even killed somebody on set. But the real fun fact about this is that while this is kind of the button of the scene, this is really the big finale of it, this was not planned. This was kind of while they were designing, while they were building their miniatures, they thought, you know, it'd be cool to have a boulder that rolls down, and it started off a lot smaller. And then they were like, as the idea, you know, kind of kept snowballing, they kept making it bigger and bigger until it became the eventual final kind of set piece for this sequence. And again, good decision, because this was a ride at Universal. I don't know if it still is, but it definitely was. You could experience this on the big screen and then go ride the ride and get that real life adrenaline. So just crazy how some of these things work out, you know? I would be terrified, man. I would be. Oh, it's so good. The spider webs, it's so grimy. Man, that scene, it still gives me the chills. It's one of the most cinematic ways to start a movie. It's so good. The golden idol is really, really cool. I used to have one on my desk. I'll show a picture of it if I can find it. This is just an iconic movie. It's one that I personally love. And of course, what I want to know from you guys is, what do you think of Raiders of the Lost Ark? I think it's personally the best Indiana Jones movie. It's maybe my favorite Harrison Ford movie of all time. I just absolutely love it. Every single thing about it checks all my boxes. Comment that and whatever else you want to tell us down below. I really look forward to reading your suggestions for future iconic scenes that we can break down here on JoBlo Originals. Take care, everybody. Bye.